This is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of the new Elder Scroll game, which is going to be previewed today, which I'm so excited for. I remember scrolling on Reddit yesterday and then being like, wow, why is Reddit acting so weird? Why is it not loading everything? And then go onto the front page maybe like an hour later to see like 3 threads with like thousands of comments and upvotes about the new Elder Scroll presentation coming out today. I'm just like, oh my god. Because it's just insane to think a game like Skyrim came out, oh my god, at this point, what is it, over 10 years ago? Maybe like, if it's 15 years ago, I'm going to be really sad, but I think it is honestly close to like 15 years ago. I can almost vote. And here we are finally getting another Elder Scrolls game. And this has me thinking about a few things. First, I love this new direction that gaming companies are just taking, where they're no longer, I guess, teasing things for a long time. Often it's just, here's the presentation, it's going to be out in 2 weeks. I'm not sure if it, I want to say it honestly kind of popularized with Nintendo with their directs, because so many times it'd be like, and here's the Switch 2 coming out in 2 months. I mean, literally the Switch 2 was announced, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago formally, and then, it's coming out in like 6 weeks, give or take, whatever happens with the tariffs. And that's the same thing. I mean, I was reading in the thread that there's some people who are thinking that this Elder Scrolls presentation is going to shadow drop, is going to basically be like, all right, presentation's over, now go download it now. And that would be insane, because in just 2025, I don't have the memory or the emotional bandwidth to, keep something hyped up in my head for months and months and months. I can hardly maintain hype for like 2 weeks. So these kind of like shadow announcements, I would say, are the perfect thing in 2025. It's the way you can really like gauge how big of a reach that you have. Because if you can announce something, if you can like have an announcement indicating that you're going to have a presentation the next day that just spreads throughout the entire internet like a wildfire, well, I would say that's pretty successful. Now, what I'm really curious about is how Bethesda is going to, update the Elder Scrolls formula for 2025, because I want to say in like, oh my god, yeah, that game did come out in like, anyways, in like 2012 with Skyrim, a lot of people were upset, a lot of hardcore Elder Scroll longtime fans were upset, comparing things to like Morrowind, where Skyrim was a lot more hand-holdy, where, you weren't able to go as crazy with some of the builds, like just be ridiculous when it comes to like acrobatics and whatnot. And I guess it can be very disappointing for like a hardcore gamer to feel like they're just being, their hands being held everywhere. Also, I'm just grabbing my nose so much because my cat's sitting on my lap and she's just shedding so much. I think it's because it's the springtime. But anyways, dandruff, cat hair's flying everywhere. But yeah, I can see why someone who is a hardcore gamer be a little upset of, I'm not going to say the dumbing down of mechanics, the simplifying, the streamlining, the appeal for more casual gamers. Because I would say that's one of the biggest appeals of Skyrim is that, basically anybody can just pick that game up and play and just go on an adventure. You don't have to think about your builds. While it can be fun to play a game like Elden Tree or whatever the game is called. Oh, my cat just left me. It's making me sad. So while it can be fun to, create a build, sometimes it just gets too complex. Sometimes you just get too forced into something, but it's great because if you do want more complex games, they're out there. If you want to go play Elden Ring on, hardcore, really push yourself to the limits, you can. If you want to go play Baldur's Gate 3, that has a really deep, rich story, a lot of choices, you can do that. With Skyrim, it was just so easy to level up anything that even if you're like near the end game and you're like, wow, I haven't used my daggers at all this game, you can find ways to sort of bump that skill tree up a little bit. I think it's just really nice that you're not locked behind levels where, yeah, I guess you need a level to like keep moving your perk tree up. But if you at least just want to expand just that single skill, it was nice that you can just grind by just, hacking and slashing and whacking. And that's just great because it just doesn't lock you behind, like levels ups where again, like in Borderlands or whatever, once you start building that, tree, you're kind of stuck with that. Except now in 2025, game companies have realized that you don't want to be stuck in anything, so you can usually reset things nowadays. But still, it's just nice with Skyrim that you don't have to really think this is what I'm getting pegged in forever. But again, with something like Starfield, Bethesda has really kind of shown where they're heading, and I don't know if it's just the continued stupefaction of games, the more streamlining of games. Maybe I'm just that old man now who are watching the college age freshmen or whatever, the seniors play their games and be back in my days we didn't have procedurally generated dungeons. And I do kind of feel that way. That's one of my big fears with this new Elder Scrolls game, is that they're going to lean into what they did in Starfield and try to, have these procedurally generated dungeons or whatever, and they're going to try to be oh, you're walking into the magic realm. They're going to try to sell it, be oh, this is some crazy portal that you walk through, and then you're just going through the same sort of procedurally dungeon environment over and over again. Because at least with Skyrim, everything had that, handcrafted quality where, maybe the dungeons themselves weren't very unique, and, they always had that same pattern of, starting at the beginning and then just making a big old circle around. But at least, again, you could tell that the developers, were handcrafting everything, choosing, whatever. But, with Starfield, it just didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like, they were going through it themselves and making these things, because I don't think they were. And that just really worries me, because I think that's one of the things that still make Skyrim hold up so much, is just that medieval fantasy realm with the beautiful sights, the beautiful sounds, where I just, again, never felt that sense of awe through Starfield. If you did, that's not knocking you. I'm glad that you had fun. I just love Skyrim because I feel like even 15 years later, with a base game, no mods, I can just join. I can just get into it and just lose myself in whatever I'm doing. God, there's nothing I love more than the first snowfall of the year, than just loading up a new run of Skyrim. Even if I don't finish the game, I just love the atmosphere. And they cannot flub up the atmosphere of the Elder Scrolls, right? They can't do that. This is their bread and butter. This is, I would say, one of Bethesda's last chances to really prove that they're still relevant in gaming. Again, while they may be selling a lot of copies of things like Starfield or Indiana Jones or whatever, I haven't seen people really make a big deal out of Bethesda for a long time. Basically, since Skyrim, I would say mostly Bethesda has been mired in controversies, whether it's just the lameness of Fallout 76, just the lacklusterness of Starfield. I just wondered if they are kind of teetering on the edge, because I can't imagine how expensive making a game like Elder Scrolls 6 is. Something that's been in development for 6 years, 5 years? I don't even know. 10 years? I don't know. But regardless, how do you even recoup your money on something like that? I mean, you just got to be selling these crazy, unless they're going to go some sort of GTA route where there's some sort of online matchmaker, which I'm kind of surprised they haven't done that. I mean, GTA just prints money. I don't even understand what the appeal for the online matchmaking for GTA is, but whatever. Let people have fun is what I say. But yeah, I don't know how you can just keep selling a single player game, and with how expensive they're getting nowadays, and still reap the same kind of profits that you expect. I would just say in 2025, something's got to give. Either gamers just need to accept that we've kind of plateaued in terms of size and scale. Developers need to somehow figure out how to get more cost effectiveness, whether it's with maybe AI help, or maybe just not worrying about the graphics so dang much. But it's just insane that it seems like indie games that cost $10 to $20 seem to be probably the best place for honestly, AAA studios might want to just go back in time and start developing more simple games. Because it just seems I don't know, maybe I'm just older and I don't have the appetite for these AAA adventures anymore. But just a nice, small, simple game that costs like $10 to $20 just fills me with so much joy. I don't feel the need to buy anything like that's, unless this new presentation just really blows me away. I just can't find myself sprinting to buy this new Elder Scrolls game when I have just Balatro on my device. Like, it's really sad that game companies need to somehow try to become more fun than a simple card game on my Steam Deck. But whatever, I'm excited. I just love the hype. I can't wait for people on the internet to just react to this. So if you're a big Elder Scrolls fan, congratulations, I'll be watching with you. And this is Media Philosophy, exploring the deeper side of entertainment.